Hey guys, today I want to talk about what is required to overcome fear, especially as it pertains to being an entrepreneur and building your own business and managing and optimizing your own business. What do you need to do to overcome fear, and what have I experienced in my own life? That's basically what I'm going to talk about today. My name is Derek Schleeps with REI Inbound. I work with real estate wholesalers and investors. We build inbound marketing systems for them to grow and scale their business. For me, overcoming fear, what always comes to my mind when I think about this, because everyone's going to have kind of different levels of fear about different things. Number one is that there's usually risk taking that has to happen. There's usually some form of sacrifice, and there's usually a motivator. So those are the main three things. So let's talk about that actually in the reverse order. When it comes to motivation, and I've talked about this I think in a previous video, most people are motivated either one of two ways. You're either motivated to gain some sort of pleasure or thing that you want, or you're motivated to avoid pain and loss. Which is stronger? Usually avoiding pain and loss. That is actually a much stronger human motivator than trying to gain something that you want. Ideally, it's best to have both motivators. And I'm not saying that you want to live in fear of losing something, but you need to put yourself in the emotional space of understanding that, if things don't change, this is the way life is going to continue to be. And that's probably not where you want to be long term, right? So that's kind of number one. And for me, it was just, I had been a gymnastics coach for a long time because I was a gymnast growing up. And in my 20s, I was a gymnastics coach, and I loved coaching gymnastics. It was something I was very passionate about, but it was not something long-term that was going to allow me to live the type of life that I wanted to live and to do the things that I wanted to do. So my financial situation with that was something that very strongly motivated me to get away from that and out of that into something else. And I knew that number two, there had to be a risk taken, right? You have to take a risk and be willing to sacrifice something. So the risk for me was mainly financial, right? I wasn't making a lot of money at the time, and I knew I needed to invest into myself in order to make any progress, because you can't get started and start doing something if you don't know anything about it. You need to learn from somebody. You need to learn from something. What I had originally done is I taught myself front and back end web development using Udemy courses over the course of a year, and I was actually making progress on that. I was building websites, not anything crazy, but I was actually learning and progressing in that while still working. But at some point, I learned about doing inbound marketing as a business model, and I had to put the money into investing into learning how to do that, into paying a mentor, investing into a program. There's all kinds of mentors and coaching programs out there. Some are bad, some are great, some are mediocre. You have to do your research, of course, but you have to take the risk to invest in yourself. And at the time, that was, to me, it was quite a bit of money, right? That was my savings, and that was a risk. It was like, well, I don't have a better time to do this in my life. Things aren't going to change, so I had to take that risk, right? So that was another fear. So there's number one, fear of staying where you are and not making progress, which can act as a motivator. But number two, some people have a fear of taking risks. I tend to have a higher risk tolerance. I'm okay with taking somewhat bigger risks when logically I can see that there's a way to work out. And you have to have some trust and faith in yourself too. You can't just take a risk with no belief in yourself, because if you do that, you're kind of setting yourself up to make things very difficult. You have to have some level of belief that this risk is going to have the potential to pay off, because you have some faith in yourself to learn and to grow and to do what it is required. And for me, it was like I was committed to doing whatever it was that I needed to do to get where I wanted to be. That's one of the most important things. If you are not committed to that, it's going to be difficult, right? And I think some people, maybe they have a higher level of fear of taking risks because they inside aren't really committed to going through the process. Why are they not committed? Probably because they understand that sacrifice is going to be involved, and other things in their life are maybe not important, or are more important to them, and then what that risk taking is going to achieve for them. So they don't want to give those things up. They don't want to sacrifice them. For me, I had to sacrifice time with, for my personal time. I had to sacrifice time with friends and family. I had to sacrifice energy. I had to sacrifice sleep. But one of the biggest things for me was, and this is going to sound silly, but being able to just get on sales calls and talk to people that I didn't know, which maybe that doesn't sound silly, but for me, I was a kid. I was a very reserved, quiet kid growing up. Some people just thought I didn't talk as a kid because I was so quiet. And as an adult, I didn't like talking on the phone. I didn't like having to go through, I didn't like to meet new people and have conversations and small talk. And I like to kind of just be around people that I knew, and I didn't have like tons and tons. My friend group wasn't huge. That's just kind of who I was, a very introverted person growing up. And so I had to be willing to go through that process. And I don't know if you'd call that a sacrifice, but for me, it was a very stressful thing to do, because you can't build a business without talking to people. You can't build a business without promoting yourself, believing in your own value, and having conversations with people. And at the time, it was so stressful for me that my gums started to recede from the stress, because I was like, clenching and grinding my teeth at night. And I understood that, yes, this sucks. Yes, this is painful. Yes, seems like, in a way, yes, it's unhealthy, but sometimes you have to push yourself through seasons of growth that feels like, you're sacrificing something, or that something is going wrong. It's because you're pushing yourself through a pressure, right, that you're not used to. And there are seasons when you need to push through that. The thing is, though, that you can't do that forever, but you have to understand that it's a temporary season to learn and grow and to expand, because you've been one way your whole life. And in order to change, it's going to require input. And that input's going to stress the system. And then there's going to be, from the system getting stressed, there's going to be consequences to that. And so you have to accept that risk. You have to accept that sacrifice. Go through it anyways. Understand that it's a period of time you're going to have to get through. And you have to be committed to both the vision of what it's going to look like coming out the other side, and committed to yourself to get through it. Now, this is why it's so important to have some kind of, mentors, coaches, people that you can connect with and get help when you need it, when you're stuck. That's extremely important. But how do you overcome fear, especially as an entrepreneur? That's the way that I look at it. You have to. It's about being committed to the process and accepting that you're going to have to do or experience things or go through seasons that are just uncomfortable. But once you get through that enough times, you look back on it and you're like, okay, this is just another thing that I'm going to have to grow in. This is just another, and it becomes less anxiety producing. As you know, any entrepreneur who's ever done business understands there's ups and there's downs, and it's honestly more stressful than having a job, right? When I first got started, it was like, okay, I closed clients, I'm doing good, euphoria. I lost clients, I'm doing terrible. It's like back down and then up and then down. It's like, it's this roller coaster, because you haven't done it for long enough, and your nervous system hasn't really adapted and doesn't, it is still learning and getting used to that, right? And then as you do it over a longer period of time, and things become more stable and you learn and you grow, it doesn't affect you as much, but then you start to take on more responsibility as things start to grow, and then that adds new levels. One of my mentors, he used to always say, new levels, new devils. That never goes away. You just have to keep growing and becoming bigger than the problems that you're trying to solve. If you view yourself as very small and you view the problem as very big, it's going to seem overwhelming. But if you understand that you are bigger than the problems and the problems are smaller than you, then you can address it at least with confidence, even though it's going to be, something you're going to have to grow in. So that's the way that I look at it. These are things that I've learned over the years. I hope that this is helpful to you guys if you are also entrepreneurs. If you guys enjoy the content, feel free to like and subscribe to the video. And again, I hope this is at least insightful to somebody out there. Thanks, guys. I will see you in the next one.